Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello, families, and welcome back to Homeschool Together. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is part 2 about distraction. Squirrel!
As funny as we started this episode, I was distracted because our holiday lights turned off.
We were about to launch into it. I was like right about to start my spiel, and all our holiday lights just went out behind us.
Oh, we keep tripping that GFCI.
Where do our neighbors buy these lights, Sarah?
We bought commercial grade lights this year, and you know what?
And then the squirrel went ahead and ate part of our lights.
A squirrel chewed through our light string of the commercial grade lights. So, and now the cheapy ones, of course, are like every year we have some different problem.
They last 35 seconds.
Yeah, our street though goes like all out. Like we live on one of those like lampoon streets where everybody has like crazy lights, and so then when you trip that, then your whole house goes down.
Oh well, yeah, it's terrible.
And then it's like, oh man, now we're the only house with no lights. So.
Yes, of course, we're the standouts.
So we're a little distracted.
We're a little
this
distracted.
episode.
If you have a chance to head to support the podcast, if you're looking a way to do that, we have a link down below for our Gumroad store. If you're looking to do your around the world journey, or if you are looking to figure out what you'd like to do with ancient civilizations, if you're thinking about doing that with Build Your Library, we are doing a ton of videos over on our YouTube channel, so feel free to hit the subscribe button there as well if you haven't already.
If you're still doing your holiday shopping, we did a holiday gift guide that came out in November, which was super awesome, and we have affiliate links there for that too.
Absolutely.
So it's a great way to support the podcast.
So last week we talked about distractions, and we went to like all the meta elements of like, what type of distractions there might be, kind of do that analysis. And I think our homework was to go off and
right. So I want to hear your report.
So this week, I think my biggest issue with distractions, I think I had 2 of them. So the biggest ones this week, we were coming out of the holiday. And for me, that's like, okay, I've got to ease my daughter back into the normal string of things. So she
remember what her reality is.
Way too oversaturated from the previous 10 days. So I tried to do baby steps to get back into it. So there's a little bit of challenge there with her kind of getting back into the groove. And then the second one was that we had some outsize issues. Both we had people coming over during the week, family and whatnot. And then the next big issue was the fact that mommy was home all week because she had a cold. So she was ill.
As we can all hear.
Yes, and coughing and having issues. And she's still struggling with it. So Mr. Matt is having to make a lot of edits in this podcast. You may hear a lot of cuts.
I appreciate you.
I do. I appreciate myself. I appreciate audacity. So those were kind of like our.
So having me home was a big problem.
That was having you home is a blessing, but having you home in that capacity was a distraction because the girls were wanting to see you, and it was hard to keep them away and everything, and make sure that you were getting the time you needed to to get better and whatnot. So. That was a little bit of an issue. So kind of like those were my tandem problems. And those were like the big overarching problems. And then they manifested, as we talked last week, this idea of distractions being a symptom of a cause. And then the cause could be different, but manifesting similar, distractions or whatever those symptoms might be. And so for me, those 2 big problems of coming back from the holidays and then having mommy home this week was a big distraction. And so what that manifested was lack of focus. That was really more coming back from the holidays. I get a lot of all that stuff that I learned the last 4 years of my life. I've forgotten it all. That is telltale for me. Like whenever I hear that or see that symptom, that is 100%. I'm coming back from a holiday, or I've been gone for, a week or 2 weeks at, Nana and Papa's house or whatever. I always get I have forgotten all the things.
Well, right. And you can tell that like her brain's just not engaged.
Yeah. So for us, for this week, those were the problems. And, we all know that from day to day, week to week, they're different problems, right?
Yeah,
So
they change.
so my homework was to figure out what those issues were, and that was the main problem. So her focus was off. Her capacity to do numerous, the amount of work that I wanted her to do was a lot less. Therefore we did less of our ancient civilizations this week. I kind of eased her back into math, eased her back into reading, because we were just starting a new curriculum. So that maybe was like a me problem where I'm like, hey, you know what the best thing to do
Right after Thanksgiving?
right after Thanksgiving is, what we should do? We should start all about spelling. That was like a really bad decision. I should have waited maybe another week before I got her started on a brand new curriculum, which has brand new expectations. Oh, and on top of that, because she's at our parent partnership, the teacher there had given me some grammar packets that I was preparing for to do, because she's doing that in her class, and I wanted to do stuff that they were working on so I could help add to that learning. And I decided, hey, let's start that this week as well. So I made a couple of bad decisions that I created potentially some of the distractions by mismanaging my time and mismanaging what we were going to do. And maybe that caused some issues as well. So those issues can be, trying to be honest, analyzing over this week, where were my struggles and where were my sticking points and what could have caused those problems. So trying to like analyze that from now, I think those might've been the three things that kind of caused a lot of the distractions that I saw with my homeschool this week. So hopefully you guys spend a little bit of time trying to figure out where your distractions are. So today we're going to talk a lot more about, how to fix these distractions. How can you do that? How can you alleviate the symptoms? How can you, get more optimal learning out of your homeschool with your learner?
And these are all just trying to be practical tips, but I mean, really think about them in terms of like, I think about them like cold, like you got a cold, right? There's a lot of things that you could do, right? You can hot tea for your throat. I've had a lot of that this week.
Oh yes, brought to us by our new not sponsor. What is it?
Throat coat.
Throat
oh my
coat.
gosh!
Holy cow!
With slippery elm bark.
Yeah,
I'm telling you what, this stuff really works.
Well, that's what all the people at the theater.
Yeah,
use.
they all use it. It really works.
Yeah,
Anyways,
Anyways,
I digress. But like, okay, so you could have tea. You could have tea with honey. Maybe that helps for some people. Some people, Dayquil works really great. Other
Or
people, they
Mucinex.
need Mucinex. Some people swear by Afrin, right? So you may have to try a lot of things. They may not help entirely. It may be like,
you still have to weather the storm. Yeah.
Right. Dayquil is not going to make me a superhero. I'm not going to go to work with the flu and feel great. Not that I would go to work with the flu, but you know what I mean. So
you come to my work here and you invade my house with the flu. You should have been at a hotel this week.
So the thing is that these are all just strategies that you can use to try to lessen the distraction, lessen the impact of that. But your mileage may vary. It's going to be different for every family.
Especially the things that were maybe like own goals or self-inflicted, like my decision to start the new curriculum the week after Thanksgiving. If I had a little bit more forethought, maybe next year when I run into a similar scenario, I'm not going to make that mistake. That's kind of like the wisdom that comes with more experience. Like if you're working in the corporate world or if you're working in your job, when you first start out, you make a lot of mistakes, right? And you got to recover from those. And that becomes information and knowledge that, okay, the next time I see this type of problem, I know how to respond to it. And that's just wisdom, right? That's applied to all aspects of our lives. I think as educators, it's the same problem, right? We see our students. I have 2 students, and luckily I only have 2, and I'm going to only have those same 2. And so I should really learn how well they work in various scenarios. So I should know better that I'm putting myself in a bad situation, or maybe I should prep things a lot better, or whatever it might be. Some of those mistakes that are our own mistakes are things that we can avoid with a little bit more foresight, a little bit more wisdom as educators, a little bit more wisdom as homeschoolers, that maybe we can optimize the experience and minimize those symptoms that you're talking about by making better choices, making better scenarios, putting ourselves into a successful, direction, and then, dealing with whatever challenges come along in that manner. But I'm starting to think it's like a little bit more wisdom will help me next time. I'll know better.
We hope so.
No, I'm going to make exactly the same mistakes. And then I'm going to look at you and go, why didn't you tell me?
Go back and listen to episode 300 and something.
Yeah, 355, please, Mr. Matt. So let's get into it. So we're going to talk a little bit about like, okay, we've got some distractions, or not just the distractions you're dealing with right now, but also preparing for in the future. So maybe if you run into some distractions, you can quickly analyze where they're coming from. You can make those little micro tweaks and get a little bit better performance. Maybe, do the Kaizen of your homeschool,
Please don't.
I know you do
Don't
that.
go back to work terms.
I mean, those are back to work terms, but making things more efficient so that you can manage things in the moment and also prepare better down the line. So the first thing would be, obviously, the one thing that we all know about is creating that distraction-free space. And that's so hard because
there is no such thing as a distraction-free space. First of all, that's a really hard thing. But the whole idea of this category
a giant padded room that's soundproof,
The whole idea of this category is to set yourself up for success. It doesn't mean there won't be distractions. Obviously, our kids would have been distracted even in a perfect space this week because they were coming back from the holidays and they're just all amped up, right?
Yeah.
And mom was home and that was exciting. And, I don't know, there's Christmas presents under the tree in the next room and they're all excited about that, right? Like it's, there's just stuff
That's
going on.
another one. I didn't even think about that. We were wheeling out, we were stuffing
that was a
boxes.
big one. I mean, every morning they went out there and just like tried to poke at things.
I love the little
right?
one. She goes to the bigger one's gifts, picks up the biggest one, shakes it, turns around and goes, "Sister, you're getting Legos."
Right. We're like,
what are you doing?
What? So anyways, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of distractions at this time. And we have Legos on the table in the other room as we're building our
holiday set.
Our holiday village that we build.
Our holiday mantle village.
Right. We have it. It's got like polar bears. And I think I want to
penguin. There's a new penguin. Santa's.
Yeah. I want to get like the Star Wars Christmas cantina there. There's a little Christmas thing. Anyway. But yeah, so we've got stuff all through the house.
Yeah,
I mean, there's lots going on. We have cookies that are sealed in a bag in the kitchen. So even if we tried to be great, they know these other things are in the house.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Also, our expectations right now is like we're between the two mega holidays right now.
Yeah.
And holiday seasons, and they kind of know that. Like our street, our house is now decorated. Even though it still looks like a disaster. I'm looking out our doors, our office doors.
We don't need to talk about it.
I'm seeing shoes. How do we have this many shoes in this house?
How do we have this many jackets in this house? I don't understand.
Thank you.
Why are there this many?
Why are there this many?
But
jackets?
they're all for different purposes. Our children tell me.
Yeah, this one's a light rain, and this is my heavy rain jacket, and this is my cold weather and super cold weather jacket. I'm like, we live in Seattle, man.
This is my windbreaker.
Our season's only like spread 30 degrees. Like, what are we doing here? Anyway, so like we're filled with distractions in this house, and
we are.
The expectation for us right now should be maybe we should be changing a little bit about like how effective I think we're going to be in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I kind of write off the entire month of December. Let's just face it, it's kind of gone. Whatever we get done is fabulous, and if we don't get it, it's fine, right? Because December is not your peak month. It's not my peak month for Seco. It's not my peak month for learning. It's it's not my peak month for exercise. Anyways,
but
I
people
digress.
But people can maybe knowing that and knowing maybe we can create environments that are more even better at being distraction free, or
right.
Accentuating the quiet time, because we are running between these. Not even a 10. This is a Spinal Tap 11 days all the way,
gosh,
and we really need to balance it with like a 2 and a 3 day. Like just today was today might have been an 11 or 12 day.
Yeah, we went to the theater and we had all kinds of stuff going on.
It was like I think we were going from like 7:30 all the way until
5:30.
5:30. Yeah,
we would like
nonstop.
scarfed down pizza, standing up around the kitchen island. Yeah, it was a day.
Yeah,
a good day. But so anyway, this category is about trying to set yourself up for success as much as you can. Right, all these other things are coming into our lives, but let's not have our learning space add to it. Right, we don't need to make it worse. Yeah. So the first one is all about choosing the right location. And this is about having a dedicated area for homeschool. So it's a specific area in our house that's exclusively for learning. Not everyone has the ability to do this. There's a lot of us who are going to use our dining room tables.
And that's what we do.
We do our dining room table as well. One of the things you can do if you need to do that is try to minimize the distractions in that space. One of the things we're going to be looking to do is putting some cabinets in one side of our dining room, because even though we do have another room, I always had this dream we'd use our bonus room for homeschool, and that would be great. But you know what? We just never get upstairs. We just don't do it. And we always homeschool downstairs. That's where it's going to be. We have to embrace it.
I'm an old man that played a lot of sports. I got bad knees.
No, that's not it. It's just, I don't know. You're making lunches and things are happening. The kitchen in that area is where
that
in
kitchen
the house,
table is it's just perfect.
It's just where we do it.
Yeah.
So, and our dining room's right next door to it. So it's like, great. I think we're going to move the homeschool kind of into the dining room. And we're looking at getting some cabinets for one side of the wall so that we can put the things that are distracting away.
Yeah.
Recognizing that we are going to use a family space for this. Well, let's try to minimize all the stuff that's out.
Yeah.
Because right now in the space we do use around our kitchen table, we've got like bins of books over here and we've got art stuff over there and we've got stuff kind of everywhere. It's a really distracting space right now. I feel distracted sitting in it, not trying to learn.
This is a great point because we're, 4 years into homeschooling, and we have almost every year tried to tweak our homeschool space and make it better. Improve it, do the Kaizen of our homeschool.
Got the crates,
we put in some, the crates, and
now we have a little art buckets with or little cups with art supplies, so the kids can do that easily.
We moved books from upstairs to downstairs, from the office to the mantle area, and we have really tried to make this. And now we're talking about, okay, I think we need to now move it into that room and so we're constantly analyzing our homeschool space to make it more efficient, make it more conducive to education. How can we manage the space, especially since we know that we have our 4-year-old is starting to come along now. And, what does that mean for, what we're doing in our house and how we organize things and where things are put. And because now it's all of a sudden it's starting to scale up. Now I have 2 math curriculums. Now I have 2 reading curriculums. Now I have way more books, and we're going to
have so much stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and so we're constantly analyzing this. And I think this is
so this is a big one for us. So how can we minimize? How can we make a dedicated space and make that, if we can't dedicate the space solely for homeschooling, how do we make the space kind of a quiet type space where there isn't a bunch of clutter and that kind of stuff? And we're gonna look to see if we can't get some cabinets or something so that we can try to manage that clutter so that the space is better. So take a look at the environment in which you homeschool right now, and think about how can you make that less distracting in general, and can you make a quiet corner, which is another idea, to selecting a location that's away from high traffic areas, that there won't be interruptions, so that if you do have to homeschool in the kitchen and it's going to be messy, crazy all the time, and that's just the way it is, okay, is there someplace else in your house that can be a quiet space where you could send a child to work on math pages or do some reading or something that would be free of those distractions? And see if maybe you can carve out a little corner, put a beanbag chair, give them something that, someplace that we can, we have a friend has a closet under their stairs, and they actually
they go full Harry Potter. Do they lock them in there?
No, it was really cute actually. They put Christmas lights up inside there that are on a little battery switch, and there's a beanbag chair in there, and all her books are in there, and they're homeschoolers, and they can open the little door and she can go in there. It's just like her private, quiet space.
That's awesome.
And she loves it. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be anything grand. It can be something small. But if you can't declutter your homeschool space completely or dedicate it, is there another area of your house that you can dedicate?
Yep. No, I agree. That's a good one. Next one would be organization. And that kind of blends in what you were talking about, moving our homeschool to another area, becoming more organized where everything is in one space. We're kind of spread out between kind of our living room, kitchen, kind of our, above the fridge and a little bit over here and then the crate area. So it's kind of spread out, and we want to kind of bring it all into one place.
Well, right. And if you think about so this is both physical organization and digital organization. And if you think about why is that distracting if your stuff isn't organized? Well, partially it's distracting because if it's not organized, it might be kind of messy, and that's kind of distracting visually. But also it's going to be oh, let me get that book. And then you're running around looking for it, and you have then lost your homeschooler's attention, right? Yeah. Our daughter especially, she gets in this mode. She's like, okay, good. If I can go up and pick up the right book and we can keep going, she's in. If I have to spend 5 minutes looking for that book, I may lose her.
Yeah.
And that's a really distracting thing. So thinking about the organization, if you can't organize everything, I mean, I get it. I'm not saying we should Marie Kondo our lives. I wish. But I could never get rid of that many books. It pains me every time she throws away a book. But maybe just think about organizing the things that you're working on and that you're going to be working with every day, so that you you're ready to grab the next thing. Or, especially if you have learners who are independent and they need to find something. What if you've got a 13-year-old or something, and it's like they've got to find their books and stuff. Help them with their organization so that it's easy, whether you use
they own
crates or a shelf or
they
whatever.
own the organization, so they get a little bit more of independence,
Sure.
but it's located in one space.
Yeah, 'cause
Absolutely.
I think trying to be more organized is a key.
Yeah. And I've seen that acutely where, I'm trying to get the math stuff together. I got to go get the sheet. I got to get the abacus. I got to do all this stuff. I got to make something. My daughter will look at me and go, "Daddy, can I go do something else?"
Right. You've already lost her.
I've already lost her. It's like,
It's very quick.
I just needed 5 minutes to get stuff together. The other thing that I talk about, I think I've talked about it before, is this idea of losing time, how much wasted time you as an educator pulling your resources together in the moment. Are you wasting time that could be done for homeschooling and finish early and then be able to do other stuff? And I talk a lot about, I think, my nightly routine where I get everything ready. I really felt this the other day when I didn't do the nightly routine, and I came down the other day and it was like chaos. The kids were feeding themselves. I mean, it was wild. I felt like I was in that opening scene in Home Alone with all the kids all over the place, and it was kind of pandemonium. And I think I felt like I lost control that day, like right out the back. And I was like, oh, I should have done all my prep work because it would have made this morning feel a lot better. And just doing that organization, both you said mental and physical organization, I think is really, really key. And I hate it when it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. The next one is thinking about your lighting in your space.
This is like, unsung, advice here. Like, I can't tell you how many times you just have bad lighting, or like you have the wrong color LED light bulb, right? And it just feels off.
Right.
And
So
it just causes issues.
natural light is really important.
Yeah.
If you can position your learning space near a window so you can get that natural light, natural light has been shown to enhance focus and enhance mood. So as much as we can try to, we like to put our blinds down, and then I'm always like going through the house in the morning, opening all the blinds. Yeah. That natural light really does help give our children energy. So if you can get natural light, that's great. And consider adjustable lighting so that you can change, for different learning activities, different preferences of kids. Think about, can the light in your homeschool space, can you put it on a dimmer so that, you can be really bright for some things, other things may, you can like enhance the brightness to go ahead and, hey, snap everybody into focus. Hey, work on math. Wake up.
Focus the lighting on the thing you're doing.
Right. Or bring in focused lighting. Yeah. Or maybe you want to do reading and you want them to do some art. Maybe you want to take the light down a little bit in general and then just have focused light for them. Or think about lighting.
Yeah.
Think about lighting, play with lighting. We don't pay enough attention to how lighting makes us feel and makes our kids feel.
There's certain parts of the house that have insufficient lighting for homeschooling, and those areas are just ruled out instantly because it's not enough for me to sit down there and read. It's too dark. I need to flip on too many lights in order to turn it on. It gets kind of awkward.
Yeah,
it's super bright.
It's too bright. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like there's just not enough light. It's just, and it pushes us into just one or two areas where we can do our homeschooling because of the lighting situation. It's very true.
Yeah, absolutely. So really think about lighting.
Next thing is your butt. How comfortable is your butt? Let's talk about butt comfort. We as homeschool parents, we sit next to each other and the kids sit next to us and we're on our butts a lot. Whether we're on the couch or we're on the floor or we're at the kitchen table chairs, the talk of moving to our dining room and we have this really wonderful old reclaimed wood type of table, and the chairs are really kind of have in that same style. Not as comfortable to sit on for 2 or 3 hours.
Right, because they're all wood chairs and there's no padding on
them. And again, our dining room chairs are a lot more padded, and we just kind of gravitate to those because they're more comfortable, right? So seating and, how comfortable you are can really affect. We also have the tall chairs in the dining room. So I'm kind of
in the kitchen.
In the kitchen. And so I'm kind of wondering, they're kind of mat-sized chairs. The rest of my family suffers. But the chairs in the dining room are a lot lower. Is that more conducive to the kid getting up and running away and going to do something. Putting them up on the pedestal and they're stuck. It's almost like they're in an aviary. They can't move.
Also, maybe the dining room table is actually shorter, so they could stand and do some of the work where they can't do it at the kitchen table.
Exactly.
So like we're looking at
those
investing.
Type of considerations.
Yeah, we're looking at investing in some cushions for the seats so that we can sit longer and do that. So that's part of it. Make sure that your space is comfortable, and also make sure that if you're, if you can, if it's not your dining room table, maybe your kids can give a personal touch to it. So maybe for us, we might have seat cushions that our kids got to decorate and they can bring them out for homeschool, and otherwise they're in the cabinet or something. There's some way that they can personalize it and make sure that it's comfortable. If you're uncomfortable, that is immediately a distracting element. So make sure that wherever you're doing it, it's comfortable for everybody to see, and, all of that.
Absolutely. Minimizing distractions is another one, and there's two
within
types.
the environment.
Within the environment, go around two things. Obviously, noise and visual. Those tend to be the biggest distractions we have. Noise being like kind of noise canceling headphones. I have seen this.
Yeah, if you can.
At our parent partnership, where there will be these students, they'll be doing their math homework, and they've got the over the ear headphones on. And I know right away they're not listening to music. They're probably not doing anything. Maybe some white noise. We'll talk about that a little bit from here. But I think they're noise canceling headphones. Yeah,
absolutely. So if you're going to be homeschooling out like we do sometimes at like a parent partnership or a co-op, or you've got a toddler or something else going on, noise canceling headphones is a great investment.
And it's coming up to the holidays, so yeah.
Right. This is a great time to get those because that can really help your child to focus. Otherwise, think about other things in the environment. Like we had a clock upstairs when we were homeschooling upstairs for a while, and it ticked.
It did.
And it was like... It was annoying,
It was super annoying.
And so maybe you want to homeschool someplace where you've got a door so you can close it out for any other noise going on in the rest of the house, or at least give your student a quiet space with a door so that they could go there and do their work. So think about noises. Sometimes, we if you homeschool in the kitchen, like a lot of times, I know you hate it, but I love to set the dishwasher on a timer delay so that it doesn't actually start and run while we're in the kitchen because it's really loud and kind of distracting. So think about things like that where maybe it's not coming up on your radar, but it would for your student. Mm-hmm. So that's for noises. And then for visual, trying to choose a location to minimize visual distractions. Maybe you've got it near a window, which is great, except that there's all kinds of stuff going on outside and it's distracting.
There's a time in the morning where the sun is coming right through the window and you've got to close the blinds, and that kind of makes some weird lighting situation, and it maybe darkens it, or it's kind of distracting. There's reflections. Those type of things can really stimulate the eyes for the kids and really just draw them away.
Right. And like, how would you know that when you choose your location and all that? And that's where I think the distraction log kind of it will help clue you in, right? Your distraction log this week would have said like, coming back from holidays, mom home on days she shouldn't have been home, right?
Coming in and out of the kitchen looking like death. Hacking.
Thanks very much. So, that would be on your log. Well, maybe yours is like, gosh, every morning at like 9:30, my kid just can't. And it's like, oh, it's because this light is driving him nuts. And maybe that means that you change the seat that your child sits in so that it's not as distracting. But thinking about visual distractions, this is where clutter really gets into it. We suffer from this we have a bad clutter problem around our homeschool area. I'm sure it's visually distracting to our daughter. And I'm sure the fact that there's, stockings hanging at the fireplace is visually distracting to her.
Yeah.
For instance. So think about both noise and visual distractions in your environment when you look for your homeschool space.
Next one would be setting clear boundaries. So this is, establishing rules, family cooperation. You're trying to communicate the rules and expectations in your learning space. So if you have maybe an older learner, and you're working with an 8-year-old, and then you have a 4-year-old, and you've got the 4-year-old entertained. I don't need the teenager come trouncing through the kitchen like they're King Kong or whatnot, and knocking and opening fridges and everything, and talking or listening to music or whatnot. Having those type of expectations within your family is say, hey, right now I'm working with brother, and you need to go be in your room. This is your time to do your independent work or do your reading or whatnot. Like I'm starting to think about these things with respect to my two kids.
Right.
where
And if
I-
you have a lot of children, maybe you put up a sign that says quiet zone.
Quiet zone.
Like, this is a quiet time.
like if you're coming into a recording booth or a TV, on air sign is happening. This homeschooling is occurring here. Please be respectful.
Right, exactly. If you really can clearly define with your kids what's going on and when and what you expect out of their behavior,
Yeah.
I think that will really help. Just so that they know. And a sign so that your teenager can see, hey, if you see the homeschooling sign up on the back of the chair or whatever, don't come into the kitchen.
Yep.
Like, we're busy or whatever.
And moving from that, like really good idea is that utilizing tools to help you focus. And one of those could be timers. Like you could take your current student who's working on some independent work and say, okay, you have 45 minutes. You have Google set a timer, or you set a timer on a phone or a tablet or something like that. And they go ahead and go do that. We do this with our oldest when I say, go do your Irish step dance, go do your reading work, go do your basketball work. She will take the tablet and set a 10, 15-minute timer, go practice your violin for 10, 15 minutes. She'll set the timer and she'll do her work. And these visual timers help her frame in the work that she needs to do. And that will give me time to work with a 4-year-old on, say, our Evan Moore preschool math book, or our All About Reading starting reading series, right? I can then have time, and she knows that it's time bound, and I know, okay, she's got 3 of these things to do. She's got 45 minutes. She'll be able to do that, and I have enough time here to work with my youngest on doing that.
Right. Those timers have been wonderful.
Really, really helpful.
The other thing you can do is get focus items, fidget spinners or
Poppers,
I
the
don't
little
like
poppers.
the poppers as much. If you have another student, because they make a noise.
Yeah.
It's nice to have something that doesn't make a noise.
I saw a popper from our friends. They brought it to Parent Partnership. It was a popper multiplication table thing. And I'm like, ooh, I think I need to get that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, think about things that they can hold in their hands. Our kids love these little
The squishies.
Squishies?
Yeah, we call them the squishes.
I don't know. They're just they're these little different shapes.
Grandma got it like 2 years ago for a holiday, and our kids went crazy for them. And then this Halloween, she got like another 50 or 100 of them.
I don't know what they're just like little.
I'll see if I can find them on Amazon. I'll
Yeah.
put it in the link
So
below.
you'll link something similar, but like our kids could hold that in their hand and use that as a fidgety thing all day long.
All day long.
And it's totally quiet.
It makes no noise.
And the fidget spinners, those spin, and that would distract another child. So,
Yeah.
I mean, really be careful with the fidget stuff, because some of it is a distraction in and of itself.
Without a doubt. Next one would be like a personalized learning resources. So this is like kind of customized learning material. So we all know that everybody starts out with a plan on curriculum, and then we all go eclectic, right? We all
Most of
start
us, yeah.
building our own stuff. I mean, from all the interviews that we've done, almost everybody falls
nobody
into this
just stays.
eclectic thing, because they know that their students require
We're
certain
all trying
things.
to tailor their education to our kids and what
So it
they
becomes
need
very
and what they want.
eclectic. And if you have these printed resources, teachers pay teachers type of thing. And that's what we're doing with our Parent Partnership teacher who is doing her reading class. And I was like, these look really like a teachers pay teachers thing. And she goes, oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. I buy teachers pay teacher stuff and she runs the Montessori program there. And she goes, I use these all the time. And she goes, I got the grammar ones here, and this is what we're giving to your daughter. And I said, wow, okay, this is kind of cool. So I have now these tailored resources that are just for her. They're worksheets that she can go off and do on herself, that I can have her, spend 10, 15 minutes in working on. It's kind of a cool thing that I can give her.
Right. If you can tailor the resources to your kid, or the things in your learning space to the posters and things that, things that you can bring in that really speak to your children's interests are going to help them immediately be more focused, because they're really going to be engaged and more intrinsically motivated about it. So, I mean, I think that kind of goes without saying, but I didn't really think so much about the things on the walls and stuff in the space as being like things that they were really interested in, as being a way to help them focus. So I thought that was an interesting one.
Going right along with that is getting some different type of learning resources. I think varying the medium of the education. So, sometimes
Not just paper, pencil.
Yeah, I'm just a big fan of legal pads and just crushing through examples. And it goes back to my old physics days in college where, my professors would just work the whiteboard, and you're just sitting there just taking notes as fast as possible. So I'm so used to like writing on a legal pad and whatnot. So I love to do that, but I don't think that's like the best way for my daughter.
Right.
So maybe doing some legal pad work and, paper, pencil, and then doing some grease board, maybe doing, some paperwork and
Something
cutting.
on the iPad, maybe. I mean,
and varying the resources can get rid of those distractions.
Well,
keeping it fresh.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's keeping it fresh, because when things get stale, then they start kind of looking around. So if you can have various different ways to display the same information, maybe, they're getting more distracted by, XYZ on one day. It's like, oh, this is a good whiteboard day. Let's do whiteboard because they're going to have a lot of fun with this. Having some different things in your tool belt.
Absolutely. Next one would be like kind of regular maintenance and updates. This is kind of the auditing of your homeschool space. What are the things that, can you adapt things to your changing needs?
Right. You're going to set it up, but then they're going to grow and things are going to change.
Or maybe it'll change throughout the year. There's going to be some seasonal adjustments that might be required.
Right. Oh, yeah. Maybe in the summer, we just can't homeschool here. It gets too hot. There's too much sun coming in through the window. That's just not going to work.
Or the house gets really warm. Like maybe you homeschool in Arizona or Texas or something, and it gets very hot in the summer, and your house.
It's like you got to homeschool in the basement then, because it's just too hot. You got to go in the basement,
or maybe you got to go outside in the shade, maybe get some airflow. Who knows? Whatever works best for you. You may have to do some seasonal
Exactly. Setting up your space isn't something that you just do once and set it and forget it. It's something like you said, we're constantly tweaking. We're constantly moving stuff around, and you're going to need to regularly assess it.
Like our friends up in Alaska, are you going to be outside during the winter? Probably a lot of people probably are not. So that maybe you'll do a lot of indoor work in that season, and then in the summer when it's just 24 hours of sunshine, you're outside a lot and you're doing a lot of homeschool outside, right? Because you need to work with the seasons, because that's what you need.
Right. Yep. There's going to be changes. The other one is that you want to make sure that you have flexibility for movement, right? Yes. So flexible seating. So different seating options. This is just what we were talking about. Like, there's a chair or a stability ball, or you could stand up and you could do it standing. I mean, if we do it in our dining room, they can stand up and they can write on the whiteboard or paper standing, and that could be something that works out well. Or there's room in that space for physical breaks, and planning physical breaks into your homeschooling day and into your plan is really important. Yeah. Because it helps them to kind of refocus. They get all the distractions out, they get their brain moving around, and then they can come back and refocus.
Yeah, one of the things that I have begun to put into the homeschool is because we're getting into basketball season, and then also she's in dance class. And so I'm using those 10-15 minute times where she needs to practice every day. If I'm switching between a lesson or whatnot, I'll say, hey, go and do your Irish step dance for 15 minutes while daddy gets ready for the next lesson. So I'm kind of like doubling up on, here's your movement activity, but you're also doing the thing you need to do later. Yeah. And then we'll come back, do a little bit more. Like this tends to happen on like my Tuesday, Thursdays, where I'm home with her alone. And I'm like, hey, we just finished math reading. I'm getting set up for ancient civilization. I need you to go outside and do your basketball for 10-15 minutes. I want dribbling down the street while running, and I need you to practice your layups because daddy needs a scorer, and you're going to be my girl. And so I need you to go do that. And that gets her physical break. She gets out of the house. She goes and does her stuff, and I get a little bit of time to prep for the work. So kind of using things as double, using them as doubles, doubling things up on physical activity, but also getting that thing I need to achieve.
Absolutely. Physical breaks are something that I don't think that we plan enough of. We just kind of want to get in okay, because our stamina,
let's knock it out.
Well, yeah, and our stamina is different than our kids. So I think we get in and we go okay, let's get going. Okay, we finished 2 things. Okay, let's keep going. But not realizing that they're already kind of done. Yeah. They need to release that excess energy, and then they can come back and focus.
Absolutely. Now going from organizing your homeschool space, let's talk a little bit about technology. We know it's ubiquitous in our homeschool. A lot of us use it all the time. We know we have Minecraft people.
And technology can be very distracting, which is why we wanted to do a whole section on kind of how to, some practical tips about it, because while it's an amazing tool that we use a ton of, it can also be really hard to get our kids focused. Right?
And we've noticed this. We don't do as much video gaming, so we can't really speak to that one as much. Although we went to a game card store yesterday to get a gift for a friend, and they had a regular Nintendo. Mario was up. I walked right up to it. I put my arms around my daughter. I said, "Watch this," and I was playing Mario for like 10 minutes while mommy did her shopping, and I was doing all the warps and all the cheats. I got all the way to level 5 in 10 minutes. And my daughter's like, what is this? And why do you know all these secret things?
Yeah. Our kids are just a little bit too young for video games yet. So, but at some point, and it's not that far in the future, we will introduce it into our house. And then all bets will be
Yeah,
off.
then we got to hold on to the reins after that
It's
one.
going to be a thing. So,
But for right now, for us, the biggest technology thing for us that we have to be careful of is TV. And one of the things we need to do is
tablets.
And tablets and setting the rules and expectations. I think
that's the biggest thing.
with technology, it is all about setting those expectations. When can you do things? When can you not do things?
Especially during the time we're supposed to be homeschooling,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So for our kids know if they haven't finished their work, they can't even ask us about tablets.
Yeah, right.
They always need to ask, but they can't even discuss it with us if their homeschool stuff's not done.
Yeah.
So
it just gets a laugh from the parents. These kids.
And they want to use educational apps. It's not like they want to just do anything,
yeah.
but
we know what happens.
Right. The moment that they turn on those tablets, we won't get any other work out of them afterwards. And we just know this about our own children. And yours may be totally different.
Totally different, yes.
But for us, we know that technology just kind of, then they're done for kind of, regular book work.
Also, morning cartoons. We don't allow that during the work week. When we're doing homeschool during the week, we let it happen on Saturdays because mom and daddy need to sleep in.
Yeah, we let it happen on the weekends.
But when it comes to during the work, the work days, Monday through Friday, we don't allow that because the kids are just fried after watching, maybe a half hour, 40 minutes of whatever thing on Netflix.
It's amazing. Yeah. They watch just like one or two cartoons and they try to get them to sit at the table and they're just like, no, they're fried.
They're fried. So
which is, I don't even understand, because I know I watched a ton of TV as a kid. Well, both of us, we would watch morning cartoons and we'd still go to school and we were fine. Yeah. But for our kids, they're really sensitive to it.
Ariel, maybe we weren't. Maybe we were broken and our parents broke us.
I have no idea.
Maybe we could have done a lot better in life.
So really, making rules, if you've got older kids, maybe you need you've got teens, maybe you need a technology contract. Make sure that the expectations are clear, and maybe even putting those, tablets or things away so that they're not sitting out. Like we have ours on a charging station, and sometimes I think them just sitting there is actually a distraction. If they were put away in a drawer and they had to come ask us to get them, that might be actually better for us.
They have these technology lock boxes that people do where they'll put their phone into it at say 8 o'clock at night and it's locked until 7 in the morning unless there's an emergency or something like that. You can always get into it, but it's actually physically put away.
Right.
So it can help you be more distraction free.
Yeah, I have a drawer in my office that actually has a hole through the back of it. There's a plug in there and I can actually charge my laptop, and I pull the drawer out a little bit so that it can vent, but it's a nice way. Maybe you charge things in a drawer, maybe you have a charging station that's in a cabinet or something. Or just put them away after they're charged. Think about setting the rules and whether they're distracting just by being out and about. And if you have a teen, maybe, really explicitly have some sort of a written contract or something that really makes it clear if you find that technology in your house is a problem.
Yeah, it's being abused or misused or whatnot.
Exactly.
Designating tech-free zones.
That's a cool one.
That's a cool one.
It's a cool idea.
No tablets or no phones or whatever at the kitchen table, or no devices while we are eating together. And
right. If you have that quiet study corner, maybe that is a tech-free zone.
Tech-free zone. You're not allowed to bring any tech in there. There's not even a TV in that area. I know we have the TV up in the bonus room. We have the TV here in the living room. But we don't have a lot of TVs in our house. And we don't do a lot of TV in general. We don't have cable. We don't do anything. It's all streaming for us in YouTube. But we just don't do a lot of TV. I know that's sort of my influence, less so yours.
Yeah. My family was a big TV fan.
Yeah, we just never did a lot of TV, and so whenever I see the TV on, I kind of just instinctively turn away, want to go in the other room.
Yeah, your family was more like a movie family. My family was more like a TV every night family.
Yeah, you guys were like sitcom television stuff. We were more movies. You're right. We were more of a movie family.
Right. It was an occasion. So think about whether or not there are some areas in your house that you want to designate as tech-free. And you can even use physical dividers or other cues to designate tech-free zones too. Some people have, there's all kinds of things that you can do.
They can have a tented area, or even a covered swing or something that might be in the room. You cannot bring any devices. That's a reading area, or that's a homeschool area or a sitting area. It's devoid of tech.
Yeah. And this is all, your mileage may vary based on how tech is used in your house and whether or not that's a distraction or that's a great learning aid. Maybe mom and dad control all the tech. Think about it for yourself. But that was an idea that I ran across that I thought was really cool.
I think using parental controls is another good one.
Yeah, it's really good.
On the devices, you can have screen time limiters, like how much time the screen can actually be on. I know a lot of iPhone devices and iPads allow that. I think the Android devices allow you to control how long the screen can be on, and then you have to then you use a special code to turn it back on. So you can bookend a lot of activities there. Another one that I've liked, that I've kind of tinkered with is grayscale. So turning your phone or the tablet to grayscale makes it less interesting to look at because it's no colors. It's just all black, white, and gray.
No, that's interesting.
It's something that some of the people who have kind of phone addictions, who are trying to kick it, will, lock the phone, turn the phone to grayscale. It was funny when we went to the play. A side note: Ariel and I went to see White Christmas in Seattle the other day.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Wonderful production. The woman diagonal in front of us, I didn't point it out then, but her phone was turned to grayscale.
Oh, interesting.
And she was on her phone and she was looking around, but it was all grayscale. So
I wonder if that was easier around her eyes.
No, a lot of people are using it because it's not as interesting. So your eyes are not drawn to it. Like the colors can really mess you up. So if you're doing some learning apps, if it's like just some simple learning apps, not like the Khan Academy apps, but if you just have like a math app or something that you have to do, turning that to grayscale can like make it less interesting.
Oh, cool.
And they can then focus on their work. So consider that as well. Those are kind of parental controls.
Right. And locking down maybe you have different devices that only have certain apps on them and things, so that if you give them that, they're not going to be able to go off and do something else that's more fun, that they can focus and get their work done. So think about the way to use parental controls, and then regularly updating and customizing those as you get new apps or your child's age and needs change. Just really keeping control of that, because there's a lot of stuff that you can get on there really quickly, and then that just becomes a big distraction.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I like is scheduled tech breaks. One of the things that I hate, and I'm guilty of it, you're guilty of it, is you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is reach for that phone. And I really, really try not to do that sometimes. But, emulating that with our kids, maybe say, when I'm doing homeschool, my phone is put away. Therefore, the iPads are put away, all the tech is put away, the TVs are put away, the Google is turned off.
Well, and I think that goes to modeling.
Yeah.
I think that really goes to modeling. And that is one of the notes, is really modeling good behavior with your own technology. It's very easy to say, okay, well, honey, work on this math page and ask me if you have any questions.
And then mommy's
and you
on
sit
Facebook.
there and you're on your phone. It's so easy, and we've both done it.
I do it all the time.
And a lot of times you're even reading a book on your phone. But if you had a physical book open and you were reading it,
it'd be different.
It'd be totally different. But when they see you on your phone, they are distracted because they think that you're not engaged.
Well, they can see the screen as well. I mean,
they can see the screen. But even if you're just reading a book, I know a lot of times you're just on the Kindle app, just reading a book on your phone. That's still, we need to model good behavior with our technology and try to stay off of it while we're getting our kids to focus on homeschooling.
Yep. Prioritizing educational apps. And this is something that we do. We don't kind of give free gameplay or whatnot. We tend to have a lot of educational apps that we're not afraid of letting them play a lot with. So Khan Academy Kids is a great example. The IXL is not really kind of a fun app, but the PBS Kids app that we like as well.
Right, although some of those are more game-like and less educational.
But there are a lot of them are problem-solving. And
they are. It's true.
They're while, like, for example, our 4-year-old was playing some like 2D scroller, and I'm like, what? Where did you get this? It was one of the games and
on PBS Kids.
The PBS Kids. But then I watched her play for a few minutes, and essentially she was solving a puzzle. And I didn't realize it. Just the first look was, oh, it's a 2D scroller, like Contra or, Mario or something like that. And it wasn't really that. It was actually, she was moving food from one area to the other, and she was, moving the character, and she was trying to solve the puzzle and moving barriers and whatnot. And I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of see, what's going on here. And this is kind of educational. So, we like to focus mainly on educational apps. We use that kind of the water game, like Where's My Water, which is the crocodile. You try to get the water to the crocodile so you can take a bath. That is a puzzle game through and through. Like, it's just really, really good puzzle game. And I like them playing that because they're really engaging their brains and they're trying to work through problems. So if you can prioritize educational apps over just straight games, you can get a lot of good mileage out of that.
Yeah, that's true. And really teaching digital literacy to your kids between, what's educational and what's non-educational, and giving them the skills to use that technology wisely is,
going forward,
this goes a little bit beyond distractions. We're just kind of talking more generally about technology, but it's really good to, make sure, like sometimes our daughters will be listening to something on like music or whatever through YouTube, and then they quickly get off of where we had them.
Yes.
And so it was important for us to teach our daughters.
Yes, you can listen to the 80s music, and then all of a sudden you walk out of the room to go fold laundry for 5 minutes, and you come back down and they're watching Nightmare Before Christmas videos on YouTube. And I'm like, how did you get there on our Google Hub in the kitchen?
Right. Well, our Google Hub was actually a problem in the kitchen.
It was?
Because it's sitting there and it goes through family pictures.
Yes.
And that's distracting to them.
It really is.
So we had to worry about that too. So, thinking about technology, you can also use time management apps, which can be really great. There's like Pomodoro timers and different things. We talked a little bit about visual timers before, but there's various different types of focus apps. There's ones that can incorporate Kanban, like we talked about. I had a great episode on Kanban a few ago. There's like strides, so you can check things off. So
but
there's a variety of different apps.
There's also apps that limit, some of them are built in, like you can limit how much YouTube can be played or how much, website stuff can be done.
Right.
You can also turn on certain apps that not allow you to use the web or not allow you to use like Facebook and whatnot.
And sometimes it's like sets a certain time limit, like, oh, you can't use this until till 6 p.m. at night. You can't even open these certain apps. Yeah. And then when you do, you only get a half an hour. You can do a lot of really cool things with that. And that goes again into the parental controls as well. And of course, you're going to want to regularly assess screen time and how that affects your kids. This is one that's going to be not just screen time, but what kind of stuff they're doing on their screens and their age. And this is going to change constantly. So we continue to reassess because it has definitely changed for our kids. We had times before where they could watch cartoons in the morning. Like the cartoon moratorium in the morning is a kind of recent thing because it used to be okay. And now it's starting to affect them. So this is something you have to regularly reassess and figure out if the screens are becoming a distraction.
Mm-hmm. So that's talking a lot about technology and a lot of the issues that you can do around that because we know there's a lot of distractions there. Moving on to external distractions, how can we set ourselves up for those type of issues? And we talked a little bit about this week with your illness and some family coming in. On a certain days, that created a lot of external distractions. First thing you could do is establish those quiet hours. For us, a lot of times the quiet hours are in the afternoon.
Yeah.
For your learner, maybe in the morning, maybe they need to have a little bit of quiet time before they get started. You'll help gauge this by what your learner is, works best with.
Right.
But for us, our afternoon quiet times are kind of that 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock range. A lot of time that is when schooling is over at the parent partnership. I've done all the homeschooling for the day. You're still not coming home for work for another hour, a couple hours. This is the best time for them to be quiet.
And it's really important that you communicate with other family members. If grandma and grandpa live with you or things like that, that everybody knows and respects these quiet hours that your kids have to study. So quiet hours are great. We talked about noise canceling headphones.
That's really powerful.
Which would be really great. We talked about quiet learning spaces. And the other one is really background noises. We talked a little bit about choosing your space wisely, but you can also think about using physical barriers or soundproofing. I mean, maybe the best room to homeschool in, for example, your dining room's got hardwood floors or something, and that's really noisy. So, you may find that you get better luck homeschooling on a couch where there's carpet and things. So
the dog keeps pacing in the kitchen as tip, 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 tip all the way through the kitchen. It can create a lot of distractions.
Oh, right. Yeah. There are times when we will literally put the dog in our bedroom to take a nap.
Madam Tippy Taps.
Yeah. Because it is really distracting.
It is.
So thinking about those background noises that are going on is really important. And if you can put some sort of physical barriers or, maybe you put a rug down. Mm-hmm. You didn't think to put a rug, but gosh, it's just so loud and echoey in that space that's really distracting to your learner. Yep. So kind of think about that auditory stuff.
I think another good one is, coordinating with your family on their schedules, right? Like, do you want to do homeschooling? Say mom or dad works the evening shifts and they come home at, 8 o'clock in the morning, right? We need a quiet house, maybe that's your time to be with the kids. Maybe you work the evening shift and you wake up early and you want to be with the kids that day, and then maybe you got to do your homeschooling in the afternoon. Sometimes we have weird schedules with families. They work kind of shifted schedules. Understanding what those schedules look like, understanding, what extracurricular activities, if say one kid is in their homeschool swim class at 10 o'clock in the morning. How does that affect your homeschooling with your 10-year-old, right? That type of thing. Understanding how your schedule is all interlinked and where you can put your homeschooling and when to do it best. Like, for example, on Thursdays for me, I have all morning, and then we go off to dance class for our youngest. That's a little bit of time for us to do some more reading, to do some more activities, and then we have kind of a break, and then we go to strings. And it's, kind of all over the place, but I'm able to bring stuff with me and fit it into those times because we're trying to interlock our schedules and try to get the most out of our time. Because we do have a lot of blocks of time that are just kind of consumed that would normally be devoted to homeschooling. Like my Wednesday and Friday mornings are just nuked. I mean, she's got classes during those times. I can't do homeschooling then. So I'm out essentially 2 mornings, and that's like my best time to do homeschool with her. So what do I do for that? How do I still get the things I need to get done through the week and keep on task, but while also being, respectful of the schedules that we have? So understanding how to interlock your schedules, I think, is a real big thing, because that could be parental schedules, but also, multiple kids' activity schedules, right?
And you want to optimize your learning time so that you work with the flow of your household and your neighborhood. I mean, maybe the time you want to homeschool is the time that you have another kid who's getting ready to go off to their job every day. You've got a teenager and they've got a, that whatever, this is the time that's always busy. That might not work out well.
Yeah.
Or maybe you just have to keep your schedule really flexible so that you can say like, oh gosh, the neighborhood's super busy today. And we have times we try to homeschool when, I swear in the summer, the entire neighborhood fires up their lawnmowers at like the same freaking time.
Yeah, 2 o'clock.
I don't know why this happens, but it's like, that was the time we wanted homeschool. Figure out your neighborhood's patterns, and maybe keep things flexible so that if you notice there's a big distraction, that might be a good time to just say, you know what, we're going to pivot today. We're going to do something else because I know that I'm not going to get through this external distraction. I'm just not going to beat my head against the wall with it.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about communicating with the family members, and I think that goes right along with it. But going into sort of like, maybe you don't want it to be silent. Maybe your student works better with some noise, right? Like when I do my writing, sometimes I will do white noise or brown noise or celestial white noise.
Silence might just be actually
distracting,
too much for them. Yeah.
You may need a little bit of that type of help. So maybe it's some music, maybe it's some light strings music, or some light music in the distance in the background. Maybe that helps to like calm the brain a little bit. Yeah.
You work best with some sort of noise.
Yeah.
It's funny. You even sleep best with some sort of noise. And I'm the one that doesn't want any noise when I sleep. I want it to be totally silent.
I like a little bit of like the fan wind noise.
Yeah. You like some noise. So maybe find what works best for your kiddos. And if that works well for them, then that would be something. Another thing to really consider is, this is a big one for our kids anyway, how they're dressed and the temperature in the house is a big piece. Our daughter seems to do better when she's got a blanket around her.
Oh, she loves the blankets in the morning.
Right.
She likes to be really warm when she's doing homeschooling.
Yeah, she does. She gets really distracted because I don't think she's out of her cozy phase yet. She wants to still be in that cocoon.
She may be like that all the rest of her life.
Maybe so. And it really helps her to be cozy and not be distracted. So there can be lots of things. There are times too, especially when we want to get a lot of work done, where we'll tell our daughter, go get in your loungy clothes. And she will go get in like her most comfortable sweats and, t-shirts and fuzzy socks. And she's just really warm and cozy. And there's other days where, she'll go and dress herself and she'll like put on like a dress or whatever. And you can see she's constantly like adjusting it, itching and messing with it. And so, I think this is where the distraction log will really help you, and you start to see some patterns in your family, or some triggers, some distraction triggers. These are just the ones that are distraction triggers in our house. But maybe I'm sure you have different ones. But these are just some ideas of things that can come up, and some ideas to try to combat them. But we'd love to hear, what your biggest distractions are.
Absolutely.
I mean, put it in the Facebook group.
It was a good 2-episode thing where you
what
kind of
tips
think,
you have.
Yeah, what tips you have. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We're going to be moving on. I think we'll have another couple episodes for this year, and then we'll do a couple encore episodes for the holidays, and then we'll be into the new year. Oh my gosh, it'll be 2024.
I know.
I still don't
believe it.
have a hoverboard.
Ha!
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I can't believe it. We started the podcast in 2020, and so we are still going strong, and we're still really committed to being here. Thanks for sticking with us all. We we're getting things back to YouTube. We just had a little break with illnesses and
the
holidays
holiday,
and
yeah.
things, but we are still studying our ancient civilizations, and we're going to get back to that too.
Yeah,
So
we can't record videos and have like a jump cut every 10 seconds for a cough.
yeah, we just have been, 'tis the season for the child cold.
Yes, and
The never-ending child cold.
We hope all of you guys are staying happy and healthy in the end of this new year, and you guys can rock it into the new year. And you guys, hopefully you guys are homeschooling. It's going great, and hopefully these 2 distraction episodes were not too distracting for your homeschool. And we will see you guys next week.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time.
Happy homeschooling!